So, for those of you who have not trained with me before, I have a different take on staves, um, but it is based on history. I feel like a staff and a spear is basically the same thing. That's not just me. If you look at all the European schools, the old school European schools that came out with staff fighting in the 14, 15, 16, 1700s, they look at it almost exactly the same way. And so there's very little difference between staff and spear, because if I stab you with this really hard, that's going to hurt. So if I have a spear, sure it'll hurt more, but the motion's the same, the tack is the same, everything else. If you look at a lot of the Asian schools, they do this grip and they'll hold the staff in the middle. That's okay sometimes, occasionally, the way I look at it, depending on what you're trying to do. And we will do some of that stuff. But in my opinion, if you're going to do that, you might as well just have two sticks. Because if you look, wait a second. If you look, if I'm going to hit him, and I'm using this, and I go out to hit him like this, well, the range I have there is about here. If I had a single stick, I could probably get a little bit further range. So with this, you're limiting your range. You are gaining leverage, and you can do different things with that, and we'll talk about that some. But you can do the same thing with spear. So I don't really want to get into so much of those maneuvers, those techniques, but we will do it slightly. Thank you. All right. Any questions on that before we get started? So let's do a little bit of warm-up.
Just in regards to the staff opposed to spear, weight difference, are you assuming that the spears are balanced to the center, or is there any kind of compensation we should be aware of?
No, but most fighting spears, they either were balanced and have something on the end to counterbalance the spearhead, or the spearhead really wasn't that heavy. Like if you train with a real one, like a bladed spear, yeah, it's a little bit off balance, but it's not enough that really messes with the technique. But the way we're going to use range, it doesn't really matter for the most part. All right, no problem. All right, so a little bit of staff warm-ups here. So first one, hold it out here. So let it kind of hang down. Bring it up and down, just like this. I'm going to try to go through pretty fast tonight because staff/spear is one of my favorite things to teach. So if you forget, don't worry, we are recording it. Assuming I took the lens cap off. Okay, good. Good, that's good to know. All right, good. Now, when we talk about striking with a staff, especially if you are doing it in the Asian sort of style where it's like this, but even if not, you're going to use your hips. Just like in Happy Gilmore, it's all in the hips. So one of our stretches is going to be for that, okay? So hold the staff back here. We're going to turn, there, and there. Turn around. Around. Stretch. Okay, good. Now, if you want to go a little bit further into more of a technique area, you do the same thing, except let go with one arm, let the staff roll behind with the other, and you switch. If you only have one arm for whatever crazy reason, just sort of stick and just go back and forth with that one.
Bear witness to my unarmed combat.
Yes.
I saw a picture of a guy that had no arms, but he had a pistol in his belt. The meme was like, I've never seen a man both be armed and unarmed at the same time.
Now, when we do talk about the spins and this kind of stuff, that's really one of the best things we can do with the spin, is don't think of it like in a martial arts, like an actual self-defense, or you're going to use this in combat situation. Like, you see these big giant spins like this or whatever, that kind of stuff. That's fun, and that's cool, and that's great, but you're not going to ever really do that in a real self-defense situation. We can do that if y'all want. That's cool. We can do that all day. But what that does teach is transitioning, which is super important. So let's talk about that transition. And this will be one of our warm-ups. So, man, I wish this was a real spear. I would just stab it right here. So let's think of it this way. There's a giant hourglass in front of us, okay? And you can keep your stabs in your hand right now, or you can put them down, either one. And one hand starts at the top of the hourglass, the other's at the bottom, other side. And you kind of, like you're cleaning the hourglass. The two opposites, right? Here. Okay. Just like that. But it's also in Tai Chi, the same motion. Right? Yep, just like that. Okay, so that's your crane block when you do it unarmed, with arms without a staff, unstaffed. But if we're here, now it's that, okay? So one arm up, one arm down. This is a spear grip. If both of your thumbs, if they could point to the tip, that's a spear grip. If your thumbs are pointing towards each other, that's a staff grip. Okay, so we're going to do a spear grip with this. And put it over. There you go, just like that. That's your transition. In my opinion, transitioning with a weapon is one of the most important things you can do with a staff / spear, if not the most important, really. That and finding your range. And not to brag, but us as a spear fighting school, / staff, we're actually really good at it, I feel like. That and knife, kind of our two things. And thugging people, basically. Running into them and causing damage. Alright, so that's our transition that way. Okay? Now, in traditional Kung Fu, with staff, they have a transition where what they do is they basically throw it, your front hand stays loose, and you catch it at the bottom. So if you look at a lot of the Kung Fu staffs, that's why they start smaller at the top and they taper down and they're bigger at the bottom. A lot of them, especially spears. So it's here and there. Now, while they would do that, say my left arm is the lead arm, then I'd step. Right? Then step. Then step. Sounds a little tricky, so let's try that again. So, left side forward, left side's my loose arm. Now, this is okay for a transition, if I'm being honest. It's not one I use a lot for a transition, although I do use it sometimes. But it is really good for getting used to finding range, okay? So we're here, our backhand, thrust it forward, and then we grab it as close to the end as we can, then we step. All right, so same thing again. There, then step. There. Step. Step. Okay. There. Do that a couple more times. That's a kind of a tricky one. If you look in any of the martial arts spas places, they'll have a white waxwood staff. That's what they call it. It tapers at the bottom, and it does it specifically for that transition. And you're switching your forward hand on that. I know Robbie and Nick, they both know that technique pretty good. If you fight specifically with spear in the SCA, that's a well-used technique.
It's a standard step for them.
Yeah. Well, and when you're doing any of that stuff, really, you can do your single step, like a standard one motion step, or you can step through with the back leg in the double step. Okay? Just like that. Alright. Questions on that? That's not new to most of you all, I think. Alright, so let's talk about the range with the staff, like I was talking about, okay? And then we'll go back and forth. Now, when we're talking about the range, holding at the end. This is, if you look in all the European manuscripts where they're staff fighting, it's almost always this way. and they have the same philosophy I do, why waste your range? The whole idea of a giant stick is I can hurt him before he gets to me. If it's here, I basically have a stick. If he has a stick, we're equal, and I don't want that. I don't want to be equal. I want to have the advantage. So from here, what we're going to do is our front hand is going to be loose again, okay? Our back hand is going to be like we're rowing, like rowing a boat. Slam it over. You can make a big motion if you want for warming up, right? But in actual self-defense or combat, you probably will make a smaller motion, and you can pivot with your back foot. Works really good with the spear. Staff also. Big motion or small motion. Big motion, small motion. So you transition to the other side. Do the same thing. I'm going to row the boat. Your front hand doesn't have to do much. It just kind of, well, specifically in this technique, but really any staff or spear technique where you've got a lot of movement going on, that front hand's more like the guide. Most of your power comes from your back hand. Right? Good. There's your staff. You don't have to bring the front hand all the way back up here. You don't have to do that. You can, but you can leave it. You can leave it right exactly there. Same place in space-time. Now, if you do bring it up, that's okay. But if you're going to bring it up, a lot of times it's used for a block or do it as with a step. So let's try that. We're going to do that with a step. Here, bring the front hand all the way up as you're still moving the back hand. Here, then step it out. You can get good distance that way. And all right, now, so talk about one thing. I know I went on for what seemed like 30 minutes talking about how this is not my favorite, okay? So, if we're talking about it purely as a spear, one of your problems is, especially if you're going spear as it is in SCA fighting rules, is if they get on you, they get close to you, you're doomed, right? So, if he's here, and I stab and miss, or maybe he blocks, and he comes up on me now, I have nothing I can do. Especially in SCA rules. Now, if you think of this as a staff, or you're fighting outside of SCA rules, if you pull it back and you get that half guard, that staff grip, then you can do things like hit, and all that. But it is still really difficult. It's not the easiest thing in the world, especially to hit. So you're better, and if you watch people who fight with similar weapons, like two-handed axes and stuff, they basically just resort to grappling with it. Here, pull it in, that kind of stuff, or wrenching, twisting, pushing, that kind of stuff. So that's probably your best option. Does that make sense? Yes, no? Maybe. Thugging, yes. You're going to go thugging. Thug it up. So, but one of your options on that is doing the same motion, except instead of far back getting the range, you're basically doing the same thing, close. You're changing the grip to a staff grip, holding the middle. Same thing, right? Because from there, that causes that leverage to happen that we want. Right? Okay. So any questions on all that stuff? All right, so let's talk about range real quick for a second, and then we'll move on to some really traditional Kung Fu stuff with the staff. So that is the big power of the staff or spear. Any shafted weapon like this is the range, but still your footwork is what makes you powerful with that. So that tree there, if I stand here and I stab with my back arm, so I'm left side forward, my left leg's forward, and let's say it's a staff, okay? It's not a spear tip, it's just a staff. Still, I want to stab. So I'm not going to reach it. But if this is extended to my full length, if I change my feet, watch this. Now I'm a little bit closer. Because when my left foot was forward, my right arm's back, basically your shoulder is going to stay above your hip. Your hip's going to stay roughly above your foot. So that means I was losing about this much space. But then when I shift to right side forward, I gain that much space. Right? Does that make sense? That's the position of the shoulder. The shoulder controls the arm controls the staff. So even with that, when I'm fighting with a staff or a spear, I take a right side forward stance. And my guard's here. That way I can slap, I can push, I can stab. But also from here, I can take a real simple little lunge sort of step. And now the tree is definitely within my range. Okay? So let's all try that. And that's what I want you to think about with a staff, is try to work the range first. You should have them beat way before they ever get close enough where we have to start going into thuggery. Right? So let's all try that on my count. So 1. Okay, switch your arm or switch your forward foot. Either switch your arm or switch your forward foot. Okay.
I have to think about it.
It's okay. We all do. It's no big deal. So here. So there you go. Perfect. That's it. 2. Let's say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, good. You can do the same thing on the other foot. We won't bother with it though. And then if you want it to even go further, when you do that move, take a little lunge. You really want to get some distance. I mean, usually in the tournaments, when we do it, I can get about 15-foot range. Like, it's not a big deal for me to hit you over there. I'll start left side forward, take a little step with my left, then I'll lunge with my right. Then it's right there. Right? So that's not that hard from that distance. The big trick is you can't let them know what you're about to do. So try to distract them or get them thinking something else. All right, so now let's go to more traditional kung fu-ery stuff. So this one, I've heard some people say that's used in combat. No, it is not. That is dumb. Never do it in combat. But it's a fun little skills-based drill. So grab it in the middle, put your right hand out. Put your left hand on top, palm up. So what you're going to do is spin it. You want, and this is really good for this silver tip here is going to round all the way full circle before I grab it with this left hand. Right? So eventually, you want that. Right?
I've not done that in a while.
Not bad. Me either. Well, I do it a lot actually. I'm just playing around. But I've not taught that in a long time. So this is here, left hand top. So now watch. This, as I spin, my right hand's going to turn. It's going to pass my left hand. My left hand's here to grab, but when it goes by that, it's just going to pull up and then down. Then it goes. See, now it's back where it started. Now my hand that did have it held in the center is going to let go. So anybody watching This hand turns, then it goes around again. You've got a really good staff for that. Make sure that goes all the way around in a full circle before you grab. Okay? So again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and it's okay to kind of, if you watch me, my elbows kind of come up and down to help my wrists go where they need to go. Does that make sense? I got some weird looks. Okay, let's try it again. Right hand here, left hand up. Tip, goes around, pass, then grab. Right hand turns, palm down. Pass, grab. Pass, grab. Pass, grab. Pass, grab. Pass, grab. Pass, grab. Almost. Pass, grab. Keep it going.
I had to set the
Start
example.
slow.
So I had to accept the example.
There you go. Okay, excellent. Now, another traditional one. Grab it center. Here, take the tip, whatever you choose as your tip, and goes down behind your armpit. So that your right arm should be out, your left arm should be underneath your armpit. Right. Got it. Got it. Put your stick underneath your right armpit. There you go. Perfect. Now, from here, it's going to, the tip out front, the front tip, is going to dip down, then make a circle, then it's going to come underneath your left armpit. Now, you should be able to do this without letting go of the staff. You should make your hands kind of loose, but you shouldn't have to let go. Right, and crosses over and down. Crosses over and down. Don't bring it out. The front will go down. There you go. And underneath. Perfect. That's good. So front goes down. And
Dyslexic, so I have to really concentrate on right left.
everybody I've ever taught does exactly the same thing at first. So
Here,
it's here. So down.
up, hands are up. Yeah.
So let me start back over here where you are.
Okay.
So actually do this. Everybody put your hands up front like this. Now pick one side that's going to be your main tip. Okay. So let's say your left side, right? So put that underneath your right armpit. Perfect. This is how you're going to start and end every rotation. Okay. Now your right hand, right tip, front tip, is going to go to your left leg. Now let it unwind and do another big circle so that, yeah, perfect. That's it. And then do it again.
I was trying to make the tip go a different direction.
Yeah,
Dyslexia.
that's a very common thing, common mistake. So here. Now this one is not one you would do in combat, in my opinion, so much, but it does teach you some transitioning, which I am a fan of. Okay, how's everybody feel about that? All right, so now let's move on to the Singhi elements. On this one, every translation I've ever seen, it always says Singhi staff / spear. So it's not just a Brian thing, it's also traditional Singhi. Interesting side story, in World War II, the Chinese state government, the capitalists, not the communists, when they were training soldiers, they got Singhi instructors to teach soldiers how to use rifles with bayonets because it was so much like a staff or a spear, in their opinion. That's cool. All right, so the first one, what we're going to do, start left side forward. We're going to have our distance kind of grab here, and we're going to be having the spear grip, so both thumbs are going to be pointing out. Now on this, imagine someone's stabbing at you with some sort of weapon, whatever it is. So we're going to do the same motion we did earlier in warm-up, except we're going to take our back leg. So this is my front, this is my back. Take our back leg, step it behind to the side, okay? And our front foot's going to stay there. So you take your right leg, yeah, perfect, just like that. Now as we do that, the front tip is going to spin around and slap down. Okay, now our left foot is going to step closer to our imaginary opponent in front of us. stab with our staff. Try. So let's imagine, let's say Robbie is stabbing at me with his staff. All right, so I'm stepping here, knocking it down, and staff stab to the gut. Make sense? Let's try it again. So this is metal out of the 5 elements. So here, boom, stab. There we go. So again, here, and stab. Again, step back, flat down, step, stab. There we go. One more time. So step back, step, stab. Again, step back, slap, stab. There you go. Get that tree. Alright, so next one out of the traditional 5-element staff / spear is water. So in this one we're going to hanging guard. Alright. Now this one can get very athletic if you really want it to. Yeah. So on this one you're going to step forward with your back foot. So it's going to go here. It's going to do the same motion, but it's going to slap down in front of you. Okay? Yep. Then you're going to step up with your left leg, stab to the gut. Now, if you want to be all athletic, like you're in a cool wushu tournament or something, it would be there. If you don't want to punish your knees that much, just go straight forward and stab to the face. Right? That make sense? So I don't think any of us here should be punishing our knees. Currently. So here, hanging guard. If you look at the old European staff fighting manuscripts, this is a very popular guard they have. So here, step, around, almost, step, step. This will be on the website. So if you want to practice this more over the week when you get home, it'll be up. Don't know when. It will for sure be up by next Friday. So just keep it up. So again, so here. Step. Flip it over. There you go. When you come, keep on going.
No.
Go keep going and then hit down.
This was going.
Right? So here.
Keep getting
Keep
my
it going,
grip
hit
wrong.
down, boom. And then step, step.
Was that traditionally in with the feet together?
Yes. No.
Think of something else instead.
Oh, you're thinking wood.
Wood?
Yeah, wood. Yeah. We'll get that in a second. So let's try it one more time.
I heard
So,
it's the best though.
oh, earth off. So here.
I think it's over here.
Yeah. And, okay. So that is your water. The next one is wood. This is super simple, but it works really, really well. And again, we've got our staff grip. Both thumbs are pointing towards the end of the staff. We're going to start left side forward. You could start right side forward once you get used to it, doesn't matter. But for now, we're starting left side forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a big step with our front foot. Then our back foot steps up right next to it. Bamboo stepping, but I always call it wood stepping. There you go. Now, your right shoulder is going to thrust out, and the staff is going to go with it. Right?
That's foot flat down, not like a cat.
Correct. It's flat down. And this is basically, I want the range to stab really hard at you, then I can pull back and I can run away or whatever. Okay. So it's here. Stab. Okay. Pull back if you want, or just end it right there. Doesn't really matter. Right. So let's try it again. Front foot takes a little step at least. You can do a big step, but you have to watch your balance on that. Step, back foot steps up.
Okay, so you're just doing one single step. Okay.
Right, don't step so far that you lose your balance. As long as you're doing that, you're cool. Especially when it's wet like this, like a while ago when I lost my balance a little bit, you gotta really watch for that. Although, fun story, 2011 Penzic, I was fighting with a 9-foot spear over a ditch, and I slid on the ditch and fell into a split and still stabbed the guy. Pretty proud of that one. All right, so we're here. So we step. Here we go. Again, we're here. Front foot steps a little bit, back foot steps up. Okay, so that is wood. So in the traditional singing 5 elements, there's metal, water, wood, fire, and earth. Okay, so this one, it definitely seems more staff, to me at least, than it does spear, but it still could work. So this one, what we're going to do is we're going to block up like this, okay? Then my back foot's going to swivel. There's a lot of that in this staff training. Then a hit. So imagine this staff person swinging down at you. So he swings down here, then a hit. Okay. You got that? Make sense? Yes? No? Maybe? All right, so block up. Then imagine your front foot, which in my case now is my left. It sort of stays in one spot. And my back foot, my right, just kind of swivels over. And when you do that, the staff just kind of goes where you need to go anyway. You just put a little extra oomph into it, and you've got the strap. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So, again, so we're here, so we block, step. Now, a lot of times, especially nowadays, I've done these so long, I do a little bit of a front step with it. You can do that. That's fine. Don't hurt nothing. Question?
I'm just trying to figure out positioning because I'm having trouble with the reverse image.
You can
But I don't
move
wanna
over
be on
there
the
if you
camera.
like and kind of stand
Yeah,
facing
I'll
that
move
way.
over.
I don't want to be in the camera.
That's fine.
Somebody's already filming it. So.
No, Chris doesn't care to move.
Yeah, I don't care about.
Yeah, whatever, if that's easier for you to behind them.
Being charged with that.
So again, this would be someone chopping down, and you may think no one would ever do that. I can literally not count the time someone's done that to me. I mean, granted, 2 of the 5 people that's done it the most are here, but still, that's happened a lot. All right, so someone's swinging down at us. So come up here, boom. The only bad thing is this is not really a legal technique in SCA for the most part. Turn. You could, but you have to be real careful with it. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, you could pull it. You could half-hand it with a great sword, but I don't know that I want to. Yeah. Yeah, but I ain't you with that. So again, so here.
Except for Nick doesn't block, he just comes in like this.
Yes. That's not untrue.
There's something to be said for the brute force approach.
Nick likes the food.
It's solved a lot of problems. So again, so here.
You know what? Yes,
Boom.
you
You give me 2 pounds steel gauntlets, I'll plug anybody.
Again, up, block, boom, step, bam. There we go. All right, does that make sense there? So we've already done metal, which was here. We've done water, which was there. We've done wood, which was there. Fire, which was there. So earth. Earth is one of mine and Robbie's favorite ones. You can use it in a lot of different weapons, a lot of different ways. Singi, it was called earth. In the European, it's kind of Molinet, basically. So, you can start this a couple different ways. Let's start the left side forward. Here, okay? Now, we'll do 2 different versions of it. A more basic and then an extreme. But what I want you to think of is your arm is going to kind of come down like this. Right? Like you've got a cool, I don't know, you're like, come friends, have some soup. You've won this prize. Whatever. I'm a Disney princess. Join my forest. I don't know. Different motions, right? So, when you do that, you're going to let go with your left arm. Then this comes around. Just like that. You may have to choke up on it a little bit. Get that better balance. You may not be able to do the far back end of it. That's okay. So it's like a circle. That's good. Just like that. Yeah, you can do it, or you can switch.
You're being careful.
Okay, you can switch. So here, so come around. And there we go. So we're coming around, doing a Molinet, hits, Molinet, hits, Molinet, Molinet, also earth, and Singy. So earth, bam, and bam. Okay, now, the more athletic version, more extreme version of it is same exactly, don't change anything, except take your back leg and step it up. All right, does that make sense? So, if you look at the European stick fighting arms, like savate and all that, you'll hear the term Molinet. So for them, it's more of a general basic idea, and I think that applies to this too, because you can use this with a bunch of different situations and weapons and angles and all that stuff. Right? All right, so let's try it again with a step. So here, come around. Here, come around. Here, come around. Oh, yep, just like that. That's right. All right. Good. Perfect.
I do that with knives all the time.
Yes, it's great with a knife.
What's the target on this? Right in front of you or off to the side? Side, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
It's the guy next to the guy in front of you?
That's
Yeah.
the guy next to the guy.
You can.
Instead of 12 o'clock, it's 1 or 2.
Right. Yep, that's the best way to put it. So that's to say, if there's someone here directly in front of me, the only way I can make this work on that is I have to really step it far out or go way off to the side. So it would work, yeah,
Point that right in front of you, doesn't it?
right. So you're really wasting a lot of movement there. So instead, it's over further out, or it's someone at an angle. So then it's that. And also, self-defense wise, you're ready to take off running if you need to at that point.
You just got this guy. This guy's coming up. Do
Oh.
that, and then you take off.
Yeah, that's cool too. All right, so now let's talk about a fun one. You see this a lot of traditional staff forms, Chinese staff forms. I don't know about Japanese. I don't know a horrible lot of Japanese staff stuff. If you are interested, I do know one Japanese staff form. I have it recorded. I'm 93% sure it's on the website already. It was taught to me by a really awesome guy named Master Gillenwater. He passed away about 10 years ago, but we still have that form. I call it the Gillenwater staff form because he taught it to me. I'm 90% sure that's not its real name, but whatever.
It is now.
It is now for us, yeah. So, so one real fun thing that they would do in the, and I know you remember it, the Chinese staff was holding it like this. Right, and traditionally they put their other hand here. And there's some story about a one-armed monk who was good with the staff, but whatever. So you take your foot, kick it, and grab. Okay? Now, you can get really athletic with that if you want to. So kick it, grab it, step it out if you need to.
I think I'd just roll my ankle.
Do I?
I would just roll my ankle.
It
Didn't
could.
we used to do that and then start into that spin?
Yeah, you can do that. That's right. So what Chris is saying, you can do that and then start into a spin from there. The big one is that, and the slap and the strike. According to the legend, a bunch of monks When the Shaolin temples had been betrayed by the Emperor of China, he was on his way with his army to destroy the Shaolin temple, and the monks went off on the cliff next to the road where the Imperial army was coming up, and they got a bunch of boulders, stuck that in, and then kicked it with their feet to knock them off. Like most Chinese stories, I don't believe, because I think it'd be 1,000 times easier just to leverage it and push it down. But whatever, you know. So here. Now, the European version of that is a little bit different. In the Chinese, they have their grip with the thumb down. European, they have the grip with the thumb up. And you can still do it with a kick if you really want. But most of the time in the European, they did not. They would just bring it up and then stab to the face. Which is legal in SCA if you're using a spear or something like that. So this is my 6-foot spear.
Kill people.
Do I?
Kill people.
Yeah, I was just thinking of you actually. So let's try that. You can either do the European or the Asian, either one you want. You do Asian, it's staff grip where thumb would be pointing at the ground and you kind of kick it to the side. If you're doing the European, it's, oh, I'm sorry, I got the, no, I'm good. It's thumb up, you kick it forward. The European? You know, a little bit. I like both. Well, no, I shouldn't say I like both. I like knowing both in case, you know, I need the option for both. Any questions on